Hola Community, welcome to Blender Today Live, episode 286. This means that it's been a lot. 2 point, well, 4.2 is like a special number today because 5.2 LTS came out last week, 4.2 LTS 0.23, so it's a lot of twos. It also released today and is the last release for 4.2. Today, also, we've seen 4.5 LTS coming out, so developers have been a bit busy lately. So a lot of choose. We're going to see Overgrown. It's the first episode. So I just wanted to share that in case you haven't seen it, by the way, the showcase reel. But you're watching this on the official Blender channel. You're probably familiar with this. Then 5.2 reel is also out. Then the Blender Studio released the first production log for Overgrown. This is under a paywall, but I managed to get a sneak peek of this. So if you want to follow the project and support the project, you can. Of course, this is eventually all going to be open source later on, but if you want to get the latest of the development, how this is going, this is a sneak peek of what the team is working on. So nice, even animated. Nice. So on top of that, not much more. I hope you've seen the reel. Lots of work to do it. Francesco made, the CEO of Blender Foundation of Blender, made the edit for the reel. So that's something you sometimes don't think who makes these things. It's the same people. It's the same as you have animators working on assets and you have animation developers working on assets or UI made by sequencer developers. So it's all like a big family because we don't have that many resources. So let's see. Let's move what there's not that much actually to see regarding announcements. There's not much more. And also regarding news, I gotta be honest, there's not that many changes, although there is some very interesting refactors in some areas that need love and people ask. But this week we're gonna have some animation updates, assets, the outliner, actually a couple of outliner improvements, and then some UI as well, and Sculpt, also Sculpt. Interesting. So okay, let's see how this goes. Welcome to Blender Today Live. The first change, as we usually start, is with animation. In animation, we have, let's start with just a new operator that does a few things that are already possible in another operator, but this time, let's look at it. Replace with duplicate action. That's the name of the operator. There is already a duplicate with new action operator, but this one, it's the same, just makes a duplicate. Super nice. Handy. Thanks, Christoph. The next one, also by Christoph. This one, I thought it was a lot less, like it's pretty big, right? The feature itself, but just by looking at the feedback from users, seems pretty huge. Convert animation between rotation modes. So there is a design, there is 2 issues that have been reported, and the pull request, it's gotten a lot of love. Let's go look at all this love. So what does it do? It lets you transform from XYZ, like Euler, to quaternions or back and forth. This is pretty handy, especially when you're working also with game engines that may not support the same modes that you're used to, or if you're making animation for a specific engine in specific mode. But yes, super handy. Control R in pose mode. In the 3D viewport, you can open the object or the pose menu under animation, and there is convert rotation mode. It's also on the sidebar. This is being discussed at the moment. There is another PR for the UI itself, but once you have here, for example, your conversion, here you have it in X, Y, Z. Control R brings the convert rotation mode menu, or you can choose which modes to convert it, and it makes it all for you. The curves as you expected. So nice. Super handy. The UI for it is not just this operator. You can run the operator and open the menu, but also there will be here on the sidebar next to where you can select the type of rotation. You can click on it for transforming directly from the sidebar in bone and in object mode as well. Remember that since 5.2, animation tools are available for objects as well. Well, the interpolation tools as well. Let's see. Two more changes. One of them also by Christoph. So Christoph is one of the main developers, full-time working on, I hope full-time working on, or it seems like it. Sometimes I would be surprised that there is so much work done by a developer that at the end of the day, I realize it's only part-time or anyway. This change, it's a rewrite of an internal API that Blender uses for renaming your animation data. Like you open an old blend file and it goes through the actions, through the curves, and does all the renaming that it has to do for remapping things around. So it's under the hood. It's not user facing unless you're facing a loading page, a loading circle, or you thought that Blender was frozen, but actually it wasn't frozen. It was just thinking about it. In this PR, there is one blend file that it was a bug report that was reported as a blend file where things loading this file not only didn't feel like it was frozen anymore, but it was 27 times faster to load that blend file, one blend file with a lot of collections. So, you know, when you run into these situations that you think the Blender, it's just frozen, nothing happens, just report it. You know, it's not, it may be something like this, that it's an optimization that can be done to improve things for everyone. So please keep them doing. Let's see. People in the chat, my guy, he's from Argentina. Yes. When people wear a t-shirt, it's usually because they're from there. Yes. Unless you're from Bangladesh and also support us. Next. So anyway, faster and fixing. So it's faster to load some files, and it's actually fixing some issues when driver targets didn't get renamed properly. So also super welcome. Let's see. And the last one, bar border. Ah, nice. Yeah, I remember Bar showed up at the module meeting for the UI module, and this feature is finally here. This is better if I just show you what it does. So let's open 5.2 here. So where do I have 5.2? So let's see. This is 5.2, right? The latest and greatest release. So have you ever noticed that when you're during playback, right? I'm playing my animation, and then if I just want to go back a few frames, Blender just like the playhead tries to fight me, just keeps trying to move forward, even though I'm telling it I want to go to this frame, and it feels so clunky because it doesn't. Yeah, it just tries to keep playing. So not anymore. Look at this, Blender 5.3 playback, and then I can just go to any frame, release, and Blender will just play as usual. This is one of those things that it looks like a bug fix. It's just that how did we survive so long without this, right? It feels so like a flicker. Yeah. Anyway, so nice. I already start telling a bit of a difference between the UI in 5.3 and 5.2. Nice. Okay, this is 5.2. Let's go back to 5.3, the latest and greatest Blender ever. And that's it. So thanks so much, Par, for working on this. So nice. Okay, so now it's time to move to the next section, which is assets. In assets, there is just one change, but it helps you if you're running Blender on the background, or if you're running a render farm and you're running Blender like rendering from the background with the -B command on the terminal, this means that Blender would not load the UI and many other things. Among those things, Blender was trying to update the list of indices, like the assets list. And that you don't really need it if you're in background mode. So that has been moved elsewhere, so it doesn't do it, and that makes Blender opening much faster. So something that used to take 100, well, the initialization of the whole scene from almost 200 milliseconds to 114 milliseconds. Nice. That's it on a MacBook M4. Such a small thing, but you know, when you add up all the timing on those things, it really helps. So let's move into C for the compositor. One change, a small thing, but it makes a difference. So this one by Omar, it's in preparation for a great feature which you might already feel coming, which is we have compositing setups in 4.5, for example. We have compositing setups as entire scene. In 5.0 and 5.1, now you can change which compositing setup it's in this scene. You can interchange it. Before it was baked into the whole scene data block. That's awesome. The next step is to be able to take that compositing data and layer it. So layered compositing, which is sort of tied to layer textures. We're gonna see a bit of that in a bit, a sneak peek, but it all comes together, right? Like I mentioned a few times in the past that images, like the handling of images, you could, if you take out the render layer out of the compositor and you just have like a group input with image vectors, you know, like geometry nodes basically. It's kind of the same concept. So that is one step towards that. The compositor no longer has a render layers node by default. It now has a group input by default. So if I go to the compositor, we'll see that there is, wow, this is the compositor in Blender 5.3. There is group input, group output. Wow. I mean, I say why? Wow, because it used to be 3 nodes. In 4.5.2, there is the render layer node, the group output, and the viewer node. The viewer node has been removed from the default because Blender will always use the viewer internally, even if you don't have it. So you can still add as many viewers as you want, because you can, you know, you can do like Control-1, Control-2, Control-3 to add shortcuts. Did you know that? This is like a control, like in Age of Empires or Command and Conquer, where you map those viewers to a shortcut so you can switch between them quickly. So the viewer is still super useful, but it's not on, it's not added by default because it's no longer needed by default. Blender internally uses that. And then the render layers, it's also no longer needed by default for default setups, because you basically can do the same, like this is the same as the default input if it's named properly. So by default Blender will name it properly, but then if you add group inputs with the same name as a pass, it's basically the same. Of course, you can always add the render layer node by yourself, but for most setups it's not needed, which is great because it means that Blender does a lot of the heavy lifting under the hood, and in the future you will be able to stack them. So super nice. Just a small change, but it gives you a hint of what's coming in the future. Okay, what else we have in C for curves? Curves. Well, it's curves, but also hair. So in hair or curves, there is a new brush in Sculpt mode, in the mode that you use to grow hair, to cut hair. Now there is a cut brush. It's in an implementation of it's a very early task from 2022, but yeah, basically allows you to cut hair but using not only projected like from the view, but also spherical, like a 3D, like an actual 3D brush. It supports spherical and projected fall-off shapes, respects the selection of points, removes the last point to the exact location, and the strength of the brush is used as a chance to omit a curve, similar to how Particle Edit Mode does it. Nice, so we're one step closer to the end, and I'm about to cut some hair. So this is a setup using geometry nodes, so you can see where the points are on each part of the strand. And so nice, it works. It's an actual 3D brush for cutting hair. So you see with the projected, it takes also the hair from the back, but with sphere, it takes only the ones in the front and leaves the ones in the back, like an actual sphere in 3D space. So nice. Okay, that being said, that's for brush, yeah, for curves. So nice that people are keep working. So thank you, Redemser. Okay, let's move into the next section. So, well, maybe I should just mention cycles. I asked the team, the cycles team, but they didn't reply on time for to tell me if it was worth mentioning or not. But I've seen, well, you can see here, while I was going through the commit logs, there was like 8 commits related to HipRT. So this means great news for AMD users, AMD cycles users. This means that there should be some optimization, like some of these things they mentioned that they save memory. So I'm just happy to see the team working on AMD implementation. So that's nice. Even though maybe this should be done by AMD, not by people. Well, I mean, they are sponsors. So anyway, and yeah, and Brecht made it so there is a minimum tile size for texture cache loads. Nice. It okay, let's see. E for EEVEE. Yeah, denoising is coming to EEVEE. Interesting. So it's not there yet, but this commit adds a bunch of denoising render passes: depth, normal, albedo, specular albedo, and roughness added to EEVEE with the definitions. Definitions are similar, analogous to cycles. So pretty nice. It is coming. Imagine DLSS on or open image denoise inside in EEVEE. That's pretty welcome. Let's see what else. Fixes. So many fixes. Like either Blender is really broken or developers are... No, actually, some of those fixes are not even reported because there's been some tools that the developers have been making, especially Campbell, that try to like abuse the system, basically just go through all the modeling operators and just try to run that operator with a broken mesh, with a mesh with holes, without holes, with this, with it, like all the, like with UVs, with too many UVs, with little UVs, with no, like, you know, all the different options. And that, yeah, brings up a lot of issues. Because some of them are not even reported. They're just there. So nice. Okay, let's talk about GO nodes. Oh, nice. This one is a long-awaited feature. The ability to make even with corners with the curve to mesh node. So for architectural or hard surface, this is essential. So now there is an option called meter scale. It's a Boolean, and there is a limit also. It's a sub panel. So basically it makes it similar. That's so nice. This is so cool. Somebody's really happy there. I see Satir is really... Now this is huge. Okay, maybe should I just call this the name of the show? Nice. People are bringing up Houdini. Why are people mentioning Houdini here? Well, you know, if you like Houdini, you're gonna like it even better because there are some, okay, let me go a little bit sidetracking here, but in the cycles repository under pull requests, there's been some Houdini lights, Houdini render shaders, and Houdini shaders work in progress, PRs, patches for bringing cycles to Houdini. Yeah, there is demand for it apparently. So let's go back to geometry nodes. Meter scale, yeah, awesome. This is great. This is like the in the Bevel node you have this, in the Solidify you have that, something like that. Not in Bevel, in Solidify you have that. So cool. Long awaited feature. 27 likes. Go give it some love if you can. Let's go to the next feature. Let's see. What else in K4 Keymap? This is a small change in the Keymap. So in the nodes editor, when you press Control X, it's doing like a dissolve, and users expect that to do dissolve. The problem is it's also overriding your clipboard, because Control X is not just dissolve. It's like basically you have two nodes and one node in the middle. If you press Control X, Blender will dissolve, so disappear that node. The problem is it would also put that node in the clipboard, because Control X is cut, right? So it would mess your clipboard. So this shortcut change means that dissolve in the node editor is now Shift X, and that will remove the node and not do anything to your clipboard. It will just not add it there. But you can still use Control X, Command X to cut. Same as usual. And speaking of nodes, we have two changes. One of them is, well, actually it's more related to Grease Pencil than nodes, but I'll let it pass because we don't have a Grease Pencil section this week. So this is a change by Quaccaroni, who is working on Clay Pencil, one of the Blender Lab projects, by the way. Learn more at blender.org/lab. In this change, he made it so these nodes, the merge layers, set Grease Pencil color, and depth, now have the menu as sockets. So what used to be hard-coded menus, what used to be these menus hard-coded in the node itself, now they have become inputs. So you can hook inside there anything. So cool. Let's see. The other change related to, so thank you, Quaccaroni. The other change is the properly named node after link. Oh yeah, this looks like a it wasn't like this before. So basically, this is how it used to be. So let's zoom in. Basically, so you add a node and you drag. Whoops. So you add a node, and the name of the node will be group 001, group whatever, because the node itself is group, but it has a label array, for example. Now that has been changed, so the name of the node is actually array. So little quality of life improvement there. So especially if you are gonna call this node somehow from Python, it's easier to find than just group 1, group 2, 3, and so on. Let's see. Let's talk about O4 outliner. That's so cool. So unofficially in the UI module, so the outliner development is kind of tied to the UI module for some reason, and the UI module target for 5.3 is to put more work into, or like focus among all the things that the module does, like theme, Keymap, file browser, so or UI in general, keeping things tidy. Also to focus in some of the tasks that are waiting for the outliner. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Some of them you might wait for, like manual sorting, they're being worked on. But these two are also things that are nice to have, like small quality of life improvements. The first one is that when you create a new collection, it will use the active element for creating that collection. So, and the operator currently adds a new collection as a child of the selected one. It has some downsides, especially when the object is selected and the operator is invoked. In such case, collection is added to the master collection. In that case, if we cannot, or main scene collection. Master is wrongly used here, even though Blender internally calls it master because it was made a long time ago. But in the UI, you will see it as scene collection. To handle this, use the active tree element instead. So if not, yeah. Anyway, this is part of another PR. Well, not another PR. It is one. It is yet goes with together with another PR, which is when you create a new collection, it would also go to that collection because before it wouldn't. It was just created somewhere in your tree, and you wouldn't know what happened. So now Blender goes there. And the next thing after this, like look at the amount of, it's crazy, these small things anyway. And the next thing is that when you create a new collection, Blender will focus the field so you can start typing right away. So maybe this, for some people this will be cumbersome. I don't, why would you want to add a collection and not name it anything? I mean, there are reasons if you're just in a rush, but you can just press enter or escape or whatever, and that's it. Whereas most of the time you want to name your collections, you want to give some meaning to it, right? So yeah, that would be the goal. Let me know. Would you be bothered if every time you create a new collection in the outliner, it would let you type a number, type something? Because you don't have that when you add a new object, right? When you add a new cube, Blender doesn't ask you what's the name of the cube. So it'll actually be an option, maybe not. Let's see. Next, in well, P4 paint. Okay, P4 paint. So the changes that I'm about to show you, they are related to texture painting in Blender. However, you will be disappointed because this is not the substance in one commit in 1 week. You may understand why that's not possible. It's not even the target. But before you start a huge project like texture painting, many of the complaints of users are that even just the current texture paint workflow in Blender that has for many years, it's not fast. Is maybe undo is a bit dumb sometimes. It undoes too much or too little, or just takes forever to undo. Well, the team is tackling those things first, and you will notice that because there are, well, there's a section called paint, right, with many changes by hands. Some of them are optimizations, some of them are like, to use less memory whenever you can. So some of those are related to optimizations and making things clearer with the new attribute system and so on. But then you run into refactors. Let me scroll. Let me go full screen here. So look at the refactors. Images, right? Images. What do you mean images? Yeah. So internally, how Blender presents and loads images has also been refactored like in many ways. From optimizations, from like deduplicating code, improving how textures are loaded into GPU, for example, making things thread safe so they can be multi-threaded. They can use multiple, you can use all your cores in your computer. And then look at this, like here starts the refactor for texture paint all the way to here. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, let's open some random ones, like UV island detection is now parallelized. So it means that it will use multi-threading, right? Optimizations, undo tile detection while painting, make things faster. What is it? This could be 4 times as expensive than the actual paint operation. So, undo could be 4 times more expensive than actually painting. Things like that has been improved. So I hope you appreciate the amount of work that goes into, you know, it's not just adding new features for texture painting, but also improving the under the hood, the technology for loading images, working with many images, taking advantage of all the multi-threading that, you know, computers have these days. So yeah, cool things coming. And let me show you. There is a little sneak peek that I can show you. It's not anywhere yet, but it is something that Brecht shared as a sneak peek, and this is exciting already. So let's look here. So Brecht posted 4 days ago a small sneak peek of the prototype I'm working on. I did some UI code hacking to make the tree view look more like an outliner embedded in a panel. And indeed, like, this looks so yeah, it's a panel inside material settings that goes all the way to the edge. Interesting. Doesn't look bad actually, but it's like an outliner basically. It has even alternating row colors. Nice. And also interesting concept. And it has many of the things that we already discussed. So there is the overall surface, so the BSDF that you're working on, principle in this case. Then there is a, by the way, I'm just guessing when I haven't tested this. This is locally a prototype in Brecht's computer. I haven't seen this, so this is what I'm reading from just the screenshot. There is a group apparently that has metallic gradient with 100% in opacity. It's visible. You can disable individual layers. That's nice. It's a brick texture. There is no mixed modes yet. Interesting. I mean, you can understand this is a prototype. It's very early, but there is no mixed mode. There is a brick texture on top of a metallic fill. So you have, oh, nice. Well, I mean, a metallic brick. It's a funky test, but you have to test everything, right? Image texture, and then this image texture has influence of 100% and a text checker texture. So procedurals, we already can do procedurals apparently with this. Then HSV. Ah, this is a mask, right? This is a mask icon. Interesting. Oh, nice. Okay, so this is the fill on top, has a mask brick. So that's why you can see there is a metallic shading here that is see through the brick mask. Oh, nice. Then there's an image texture, has a checker. Then an effect. So apparently it can do effects already too, HSV. And below everything there is a fill. This metallics fill has the influence metallic roughness, and that's about it. Those are the options. So it is pretty interesting that we are this far already with a prototype. Of course, it's super early. Like the UI, you can see that it's a work in progress, even an experiment. But I'm liking this this outliner view in the in a panel. We don't have that yet. It's very flexible. Sometimes I forget that Blender has its own UI system and you could do anything. So I am always limited by what we can do already with Blender. An outliner is somewhere there and a panel is somewhere else. But what if you join them? Interesting. Very exciting to see. So this, I just wanted to share some of the updates. Time to move to S for Sculpt. In sculpting, we have one change. It's a new property by Ethan that I can just show you in... no, actually, I made an image because the PR didn't have an image, and I made one before the live stream. Look at how much I think about you. The option is called Transform Only Pivot. So in the transform tools, you know, in Sculpt mode, you can transform your whole object, your whole objects. You can now in the options panel, pop over, there is an option called Transform Only Pivot. this is super handy if you want to keep it's in the same way that you can do it in object mode, that once you enable in the options, let me just show you. So in the same way that in object mode you have the transform only origins, location, parents, you can also do that in Sculpt mode now with options pivot point. Yeah, so I guess this is what it's going to use as a pivot. And yeah, you can see that it actually looks similar to when you have the other option enabled, the same gizmos. So the interesting, also apparently very awaited by the community. Super nice. Let's see. Let's see what else is here. Let's U for UNI for user interface. We have about 4 changes today, and we're getting close to the end. Actually, there's sequencer and XR. This week we have some XR changes. So let's look at this. In user interface, there is, oh, interesting. Okay, so if you speak another language that is not English, Spanish, like one of the if you haven't had issues yet writing text in Blender, it means you may don't need this. But if you speak, for example, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, or well, any language that needs this special input for characters that are not usually in a keyboard, this is for you. This adds IME support. So this thing that like the floating keyboard you probably can bring up in tablets or in the phone or in your operating system. This now works for 3D text objects, for the Python console, for the text editor, and for sequencer text strips. So you can actually do some nice subtitles with this. So it brings up these floating, well, this is on Windows, I believe, so it's a floating bar with the characters, and this will apply also for the 3D text Python console sequencer strips. So nice. So this is also very, very welcome to make Blender available and more easy to use in other places. Like sometimes you forget, like there is like 1.5, like between these there will be like 2 billion people in between all these languages that are going to make use of this, that are now going to benefit from this. So very welcome. Thank you, Harley and Campbell, for this work. Let's see. What else? Oh, nice. In the Blender UI, since the beginning of time, labels, text labels, so if you're working on add-ons or in the Blender UI, you may have realized that the labels have always been one line. If the label doesn't fit, you get the ellipses in between. This change makes it so, well, and if you wanted multiple lines, you had to add multiple layout labels, basically. Not anymore. Now you have a new property called label multiline that you can specify a alignment and wrapping, and allows you to have text as long as you want, and Blender will make it multiline for you, so you don't have to do it manually. And okay, so what do we gain? Well, we gain that Blender wraps the text automatically. The line height is also much better because it used to be there were supposed to be multiple labels, so the separation was the default for any widget. Not anymore. So cool. So cool. So thank you, Guillermo. This is one of the many changes. Guillermo is behind many of like long awaited features in Blender, like the a text box for the everywhere in Blender to have multi-line text boxes, and now labels as well. So I think we're complete with the multi-line in Blender in general. We have labels and inputs. What else am I missing? Thank you, Guillermo, for working on this. Guillermo, pura vida. Guillermo is representing Latin America from Costa Rica. Next, well, this is just a cleanup. And today, actually, there will be another cleanup. So I don't know if you noticed, but there are many settings in the theme editing in Blender. And some of them, they didn't do anything really. So in every editor had this property called title. Do you know what it does? Well, if you say, you're probably not up to date, because for a while it didn't do anything. It was default in some cases to the title of the panel, but it didn't work actually. And we already have a setting for the title of the panels. So this has been removed, so this is no longer there. And I have another PR ready to go that will make it so, let's see, because I mentioned it today. This will be coming today. After I can do it. So header text and header text highlight, these two properties, they are in every editor. So in total, these are 36 options that will be removed because they are not really needed. They were only used by 3 things. They were only used by 3 things, which are the playhead for some reason, the slider operator, and the header status text. But this is already using there are better options. There is 2 options, a text high and text regular text. Anyway, so long story short, less things to tweak. And the last one, it's an effort to minimize well, let me show you. Actually, I have Blender 5.2 here. And if you go to like the dope sheet, playback control, you may notice that the playback controls have, or let's go to the sequencer, even worse. So in the sequencer, we have the playback controls here, playback keying, right? Syncs in, and then you have another popover for also keying, and then the playback controls, and then more popovers, and so many buttons. In the sequencer, it's even worse because you can have a playback control here in the preview, and soon, hopefully soon, we're gonna have more previews for media preview, or you're gonna have more things in the BSE preview. So in an effort to unify those, I thought that maybe the keying options could go into the keying popover. Wouldn't that be great? So I did that, and now in Blender 5.3, you will see that the keying options are now together with the auto keying. So there is auto keying, the usual one that has the previous options, and then the keyframing are here. So that's it. So you change the location or any keying set, and it uses less space. So actually, when you are in video editing, you can actually fit most of it now without occupying more space. There are more things coming up. We are thinking of ways to make this a bit more compact, maybe unifying things. Maybe the playback button could be in popover here, because this is playback controls. So it kind of would make sense to have a drop down for playback there. Also, this panel is getting a bit of a cleanup with panels, so you can collapse these options that maybe you don't use all the time, and you can collapse it in a panel so it occupies less space. I think most of the time that people use this is to enable sync to audio, or these settings, or looping more than these ones here. So making things a bit more tidy. That is all, I think, for the user interface. Yeah. In the next section, speaking of the video sequence editor, we have 2 changes. One, an improvement in how the selection of meta strips happens. Basically, it's more like a fix. In the past, it used to be that whenever you select a meta strip in the sequencer, it would also select the content inside, and that would be messing up your selection. You don't want that. So, and it's no longer needed. That and a few other fixes as well. So super nice. And the last change in the sequencer is actually something that it's when the storyboarding template was introduced as part of the Story Tools project in Blender, there was one request that users were, it was like the top request. Well, second top. There is one related to audio, to sound, that still needs to be fixed. Basically, the sound when you're working with multiple scenes in Blender. So if you're working on a storyboarding setup and you have a sound of your scene, it would not play from that scene. It would play only from the edit, not from this scene, and you want to play from here. Anyway, not fixed, so no not fixed yet, so no need to mention it. However, what has been fixed is that now the scene strip content will be updated when the scene options change, length changes. So here, for example, I have shot 2, shot 1. So if I go to shot 2 and I change the frame range of this, it reflects here in the preview, but also reflects in the strip itself. So this is something that the users have been waiting for a while in order to be able to do this kind of storyboardings properly. So it's a bug fix, but also it's kind of a big change. That's it. Oh no, hey, wait. Did you get the reference to that? Wait. I'm not gonna spoil it. It's from a Blender Open Movie project, of course. XR, VR, all the R's. Add Vibe Tracker Interaction Profile Extension. Yeah, so this is, if you look at the commit, it's a one-liner, which basically allows the extensions to listen for this Vibe Tracker from HCC. So Vibe, basically. OpenXR Vibe Tracker Interaction Profile, which by itself, it doesn't do much on the Blender side. It allows you other like toolkits, add-ons, Python to interact with that OpenXR extension, which means actually here I think they share the snippet combines controllers and trackers. So it's a Python script. There is a video also. Interesting. Ooh, nice. With the Vibe Tracker. So it's so cool that because Blender uses OpenXR, it only needs to enable one access to an extension, and then the library does all the heavy lifting. And people are nice enough to share, open source their like tracking toolkit here by Ethan, for example, where you can just download it and try. And it makes these things with a ginormous button. Why do people make buttons so large? It's not needed. It looks ugly. But the feature is great. So thank you so much. Okay, that is all. That's all with what's new in Blender today. It wasn't that many in terms of feature, but some of the features were, I think, from your reactions, worth the wait. So let's see, has anybody made a thread, please, under the animation improvements? Nice. So I'm gonna actually copy the text here and edit your post and add them here, so you have access to all the things, all that I've seen and highlighted with this emoji are the ones that I mentioned in the live stream. So super nice. And save. Thank you, Danielle, for making this. Let's see. I see some spam already in the Blender community. Let's see. Will be 2027 the year that we actually go through with this change from the community discontinued? Who knows? Let's see. So, hello, Pablo. Greetings from Mid-America. Mid. Now, Central America. That Central sounds better. Mid sound like mid. Are there any plans for a way like extensions on Blender.org for folks to get their asset library URLs out to the community? Yes. it's part of the yes. So long story short, yes, there is so basically extensions, asset libraries as extensions are partially already there, but the actual implementation and maybe hosting of extensions, and you can just drag and drop a URL and all that workflow is still to be done, but it is in the plans. That is part of the whole project. However, it wasn't part of the V0, V1, because it was just, it's too many things, right? That asset project already took way too long, longer than expected. So yeah, let's see. I've started a project until something official happens, but what do you mean? Don't wait until something official happens. Make it official. Blender is open source. Anyone can make things official. Just get involved. Ask how things are done, or what is the project, or what are the design. Maybe I think there is a design already even for that. So just make it happen. Just make it happen. Like the for example, iOS, building Blender on iOS and updating it. As you know, currently the team is working on making Blender. What is the chat? Have you seen it already? Because it's not private, it's public, that there are efforts going on already to get Blender running on. Let me share with you. Ta-da-da. No, wait, no, this is where is the, oh yeah, this is new. Wait. So this is an Android tablet running Blender 5.3 alpha already. Dog walk, like the whole deal, basically. This is an Android natively, by the way. This is not like running some kind of mirror of the screen. This is native, which is very exciting. Then there is on a phone, because this is Android, right? You can run it anywhere. So this is Blender on a phone, on an Android phone. Why is it not horizontal? Well, because it's not supported yet. It is a very bare bones. This is not public yet. It's not committed to anywhere. It's just sharing the excitement that this is already possible. I've seen people already using it with a mouse connected to the phone via USB-C, and that happens. And apparently it seems to work already with the pen, and yeah, nice. So I think this is, which tablet is this? I think this is a Wacom tablet, which is probably the best tablet you can try it out there, because it has Wacom technology, right, for drawing, actually drawing, and it's pretty powerful. It's very new, so exciting. Oh, even dog walk, Blender on Android. I should have called that the episode for clickbait, which is not clickbait because it's actually is not available yet, but it is. Anyway, so why I wanted to mention this is that the efforts from the community, like there's two users from the community here who are just chatting between them. He's like, hey, I'm trying to make iOS build, and they're updating Blender to build on iOS, which is iOS means iPad and iPhone. And that project has been stalled by the Blender Foundation to focus on Android, because Wacom is one of the main sponsors that wants to get this project going as well. So it's awesome that even though because of limited resources we have to focus on Android, there is the community already trying to get it to run and updating Blender to run on iOS, which is awesome. So very nice, very welcome change. So let's move on to the next question. So Yolan Auskies says, hello, greetings from Breda. You suggested me on Twitter proposing my fracturing system for Blender Essentials. Yes, I also messaged you about this on Blender chat. Okay, how can I go about it? Who should I talk to? If there is no path towards proposals, maybe don't suggest it yet. I hope I got my hopes up about contributing. Now I feel disappointed. No, don't feel disappointed. Yes, I asked in the chat for notes and physics. So I asked about it. Trust me. So under the modules, notes and physics, I forgot to reply to you, sorry. But I mentioned in the past, where was it? The notes bundle, no. I asked about it basically here, and they mentioned that there is no this is where development happens, by the way. This is where you can ask these things. So here, is there a place dev talk thread about community contributions on online asset? You see, I actually thought about you. I remember you. And I share this, and these people just can create a PR. So in the Blender assets repository, there is for the composite. So yeah, so there is, but there's no guideline yet. And I mentioned that will be for a nice blog post, and this was at 1 p.m., which means lunchtime, and I forgot to reply to you on Twitter. I'm sorry, but anyway, you have not been forgotten. I think your it would be great to have your things here as part of Blender. Of course, it has to be reviewed or maybe improved by other people from the community if they see a fit, or improved in terms of performance. It's a community project, so please make a PR in the project's website, Blender Projects, and let's try to get that in. Okay, next. Let's see. Thank you, by the way, for your interest. Krylo says, hi, Pablo. I was wondering if there is any plans to allow users to move the asset shelf, perhaps vertically or to the top. I would love to move my brushes around. Thank you for those guys. You do. There's no plans, but there is nothing stopping anyone from the community for trying it out. I think the first step will be to maybe make it floating. So right now it goes side to side, but maybe it could be, floating with some padding around it, so it gives you the feeling that you can move it around, even though this you cannot move around. But you can flip it actually. If you search for flip region, you can actually move on to the other side. And the same with this, you can actually search for flip region if you have developer extras, and you can flip things around if you are left-handed. But for this, there is no way at the moment. Never mind, there is a way. You can move it up, but you cannot move it down. I honestly didn't know. I actually never tried that before. It's kind of amazing that so the tabs are at the bottom. Wait, can I move the tabs? Flip region. Flip region doesn't work in here. Such a pity. Okay, wait, what if I move this down and then first do the header and then do this? Okay, so hey, here you go. We all learned something new. I never seen anything on this. But yeah, you can have the tooltips on the top, but the tabs are at the bottom. That's a bit of a pity. Maybe we should, if that gets fixed, then it means that works out of the box. Is that better? Actually, the tool settings being here and the tool here, that kind of makes more sense in a way, right? Can I make it bigger? Oh yeah, I can. Oh my gosh. All right, so let's look at all the brushes. So I can make this here, and then I can tweak things. Let me download the assets, and then the tool here. Nice. So wait, anyway, so cool. Duplicate asset, and then I can change the things here. Well, we all learned something new. Let's see. What else? I was surprised. So it's a bit broken. Please don't report it as a bug because people, well, or maybe I'm afraid that when things like are not supposed to work get reported as a bug, it's it's like, hey, we can, this is not supposed to work like this. Let's remove the functionality. No, but I'm gonna fight against it because I really like this feature. Although it's a bit strange. Can you make? Yeah, you can make it. Look at this, so cool. We have all the tools here, and the tools are next to the actual tool setting. Nice. So cool. This also feels a bit illegal. This UI is a bit strange, right? It doesn't look like Blender. I have like a floating panel. This is right click in draw mode, by the way, with a different type of color picker. So crazy. All right, let's see. I was wondering, yeah, but to the sides, I don't think there's any plans. But yeah. Hi, Pablo. I was wondering if there are any plans to allow users to move. Well, no, I just mentioned this. Hi, Pablo, says Jack Rocky. I would appreciate your comments and engagements on. I appreciate your comments and engage. Thanks. I already did. Thank you. Does anyone else from the Blender team ever look at right-click select? There are so many good request ideas, but it feels like you're just talking to cloud sometimes. There are people looking at right-click select. I know developers are looking at it. More viewer Boolean nodes. Is wireframe mode, is material preview. But yeah, there are. I mean, not everything, but there is, like, how can I find? I mean, it's gonna be hard to find something with many comments by developers. But if you look at, sometimes you will see that they have a tag in there that says developer. So I have a Blender developer. So yeah, basically, if you find someone with the icon of Blender developers, that's a developer. I'm tagged as a developer here, but it's yeah, you could say I'm an honorary developer. Let's see. But yeah, developers show up. You will see them. I think Jeroen shows up there. Christoph, I've seen from animation module as well. Pratik, I've seen him from the UI module as well. So yeah. Hey Pablo, glad to catch you live again. Hope you and everyone are doing great. I'm doing great. Been better. Question: do you guys plan on more big animation changes or updates? Yes. For example, you guys are working on animation layers. Yes, which will be continuing in August. Exactly. Are there plans for updating rigging to the nodes to be done with nodes? Yes, but let's see. Faster viewport playback for rigs. Yes, with cache. This one I saw a while back, showing a lot of rigs playing fast in the viewport as a test. Not sure if it's still being worked on. Yes. So we'll always keep supporting you guys. Thank you so much. Long story short, yes. Animation layer, the project will start again. So July was basically trying to catch up with all the leftover module work, and August will be the beginning of the animation layer project. You've seen the work done by Christoph in so many. This helps in so many ways, from object animation to making things faster, as I've shown today. The animation layer developers working on that project are the same ones who would be working on the rigging with nodes. So you have to, unfortunately, that's a limited resources that Blender has. In the same way that some of the animation updates has been slower because there was only one main developer working on it, and the other one was working on assets, the online assets project, which is Dr. Sibran. So yeah, there is plan for all that you mentioned here. Faster playback, but limited resources, so one thing at a time. Freeway 80 says, hey Pablo, are there any plans to improve undos in Blender? Things like having more of them instead of cap at 256, diagnostics, etc. What is diagnostics? And the capped at 256, is that still a thing? Because you know you can cap it by memory. I've never adjust that. Don't really use undo a lot, you know. I'm kidding. So where is it? Save and no, undo steps 256. Can I do more? No, I can't do more. Okay, and if this will be unlimited memory and just undo steps. Would you have more? Like what happened? Because I mean, people can buy computers with half a terabyte of RAM. So I wonder if maybe we can ask the developers if they think that upping this, you know, by default letting the users go up to 256, but then like you could go more if you want, right? It's nothing to stopping you. But yeah, maybe this time. I don't know when was the last time that number was upped. But I don't know if there's any plans. I don't think there's any plans at the moment by the core team. Let's update the page because it's been a bit updated. It's been a while since I updated. That was 6 comments. Now there's 8. So let's see a couple more. Where is the other one? Ah, I saw reply. Let's see. But says, as always, I'm asking about physics nodes. But now that I've been making physics simulations, I'm curious at what level a redundant node is wanted. We could do a collision detection with raycasts, SDFs, proximity math, but it's also pretty clear we also need a distinct collision detection node too. Also, someone in the chat was asking about ragdolls. I think they're a long time coming. I think it would be fitting as one of the original tests of rig nodes of physics. That's a good, yeah, that should be like the beginner test for rigging, right? I think so. I agree with this. Then I'm curious at what level a redundant node is wanted. Well, because you mean because you can make it with geometry nodes. I think it has to do with performance, but nobody would be against it. Like same way we have the merge by distance, and now there is nodes that can build that node itself. It doesn't hurt. Maybe if it helps performance, and Blender can be smart enough to, when you use many of them, to calculate only needed and so on and so forth. But yeah, and that's it. How are you? How has it been? I hope you had a fantastic 2 weeks. It's been a lot had happened in the last 2 weeks. We had a new Blender, well, many Blender, actually this morning, well, today actually, there has been a new LTS release, 4.2, 4.5, and last week 5.2. That means that there's 3 active releases plus alpha, 5.3 alpha, 4 releases, 4 Blender active Blender releases. So that that shows a lot how much commitment the Blender Foundation has with the LTS project. I think we have like how many, 6, 7 LTS already, right? 283, 293, 3.3, 3.6, 4.2, 4.5, 5.2. Yeah, already 7 LTS releases with support for 2 years. I hope this one was worth the wait for many, and it's a good time to jump and use the latest when possible. Let's see what brings up. Next week is going to be, when is that? Now, the next week is 28, and the next time is gonna be the 4th of, no wait, yeah, 4th of August already. I guess I will see you there. Is there anything else coming? I think 5.3 is gonna be about the what we already seen. There is, of course, all the noising part, the texture painting work, but it's also summer in this part of the world, which means many developers are taking some time off, some deserved time off. So that's why maybe this week you've seen 200 80 commits when we usually have like 300 or so. So I think it's gonna slow down. But in actually next month is the last month before the Blender conference. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, we are, well, only that we're 2 months away from Blender conference, and there are 259 tickets left. That's nice. So if you're around, and if you want to have your, by the way, you can still submit things for the Susan Awards. So there's still the whole month of August. If you have projects that you want to be featured in the Blender Susan Awards, please do. Okay, that is all. I will talk to you soon in about, let's say, 2 weeks. Same place, same time for another episode of Blender Today Live. Watch your ear holes. I think it was a bit loud last time. Sorry about that. I hope it's not too loud. Bye. Thank you. Argentina. Thank you. Gracias. Chao.